I had a video the other day where I was tasting Spanish wines and Texas wines. And while, yes, Spain did come out on top, in that particular taste test, though it was pretty close on a couple of them, there were some comments, some slightly snooty comments from wine lovers here or there who were like, Texas wine doesn't really compare, it can't really compete. I prefer my old world wines, I like my French wines, my Chardonnays, my Pinot Noirs and things like that. So if you do like French wines, you should say thank you, Texas. Because if it wasn't for Texas, you wouldn't have them. Now, some Texans, I'm sure, know this story, but this is for not just Texans. This is for everybody else that likes wine. This is just FYI. You owe a lot to Texas in this particular case, because back in the 1860s, mid-1860s in France, there was a big problem. Now, wine was a big part of France's GDP at the time. It probably still is. But there was a wine louse called Phylloxera vestatrix, which, to be honest, sounds like a character from a Roald Dahl book. But Phylloxera vestatrix was wreaking havoc and destroying all of these old world vines, these classic vines that grow all these amazing wines, not just in France, but across Europe. And so it looked like it was going to completely destroy the French wine industry. So a French botanist was sent to the New World to try and find vines that could save the French wine industry. Vestatrix, by the way, that's Latin for destroy. That's a pretty apt name because it was wiping it out. So this French botanist, he traveled all across America, apparently 10,000 miles backwards and forwards across the country, taking clippings to attempt to graft to old world vines to hopefully make them resistant to the louse, but it just wasn't working. It wasn't working. It wasn't quite right. The pH was wrong. Until this French botanist came to Texas and he met Thomas Volney Munson. I actually have a portrait of him. There he is. Very handsome fella from Denison, Texas. Now, he was growing wines, but he was growing wines in a very scrubby limestone area of Texas with high pH and low acidity, very similar to where in France they were growing their wines. So he grafted this vine to the old world vines, and hey, presto, voila, what do you know? Now, these vines in France and Europe were resistant to this particular louse. They gave it this really inventive name called 41B. But every single one of those wines, so if you enjoy Chardonnay, Cabernet Merlot, Pinot Noir, Champagne, Cognac, all of those French classics, every single one of those is a descendant of native Texas plants. If it wasn't for Texas vines, there would be no French wine industry. So I guess on behalf of Texas, you're welcome.